Welcome to Harvey's Huddle. I'm Jackson Harvey. Thanks so much for joining in. Welcome to this episode. I am really excited for all things Super Bowl. I love this time of year. I love the 2-week break that we have between the championship games and the Super Bowl, where we just get to talk our face off about this game and about the matchup and about the two teams that are facing each other. Really excited for all of this. It's been awesome to watch all of these games going on, and it's always so much fun to see the culmination of the NFL postseason coming up to the Super Bowl. It's bound to be a great game. If you haven't listened to my other episode this week, I'm wanting to go over this week just what it's taken for both of these teams, the Buccaneers and the Chiefs, to make Super Bowl 55. And I'm going to go over the Chiefs in this episode and just talk about the top 5 things that I really think have defined their season in 2020. Let's go. Share this on Instagram at Harvey's Huddle or on Twitter at Harvey_Huddle. Follow me on there if you haven't already. And let's start it off with number 5. I really think that one of the defining aspects of the Chiefs have been their offense. However, this season, something that's really helped them is their increased help on defense. The Chiefs' offense, of course, they've been great for years. However, it's been consistently something that's been essential because their defense has been giving up so many points in the past few seasons. Now, of course, by me saying this, I'm not saying that the Chiefs have a elite defense by any means. They have some really great players on their defense, but the Chiefs have really done a good job at playing well in pivotal times. Some noticeable stats, just a couple for the Chiefs defense, of course. They're 5th lowest in completion percentage allowed with 62.7%, and they were tied for the 5th most interceptions in the league with 16. Of course, those are regular season stats, and they're middle of the pack, pretty high middle of the pack for all other defensive stats. And I'll say it over and over again, I don't think that stats always give us the whole picture. I think sometimes we can get really focused on the stats and say, hey, well, this means that they're not a good team. Well, I don't think that's true. I don't think, especially on defense, that stats define what a defense is. And I think something that's so great about the Kansas City defense is the fact that they're making plays in pivotal times, and the stats don't really reflect that. There's no real stat for a critical play on 4th down in the 4th quarter, or for a critical play on 2nd down in the 3rd quarter that really changes the outcome of a game. And there's no stat, of course, for momentum that a defense can really bring you. And I think Kansas City's defense has done really well in being able to change the momentum in critical times. And I really think they're a really good bend but not break defense. Of course, they do have their odd games where they're allowing an obscene amount of points, but I think that for the most part, they usually stiffen up on their side of the field. And they're fantastic, of course, in the 2-minute drill. I think they've only given up 1 point. I think it was either a field goal or a touchdown, but they've only given it up once all season, maybe twice. At number 4, I've got their loss to the Raiders, just a really short one here, a short reason. I think their loss to the Raiders really humbled them a little bit. I think if they had had a perfect season, I don't know if they make it this far. However, never count out the Chiefs as of late. But I think it sparked a fantastically odd series of games where they won by 7 points or less, and of course they lost by a larger margin against the Chargers in Week 17. But I really think this loss to the Raiders helped the Chiefs know that they were human and that they were able to lose. And I think that kind of lit a little bit of fire underneath them and allowed them to be able to have the success that they had in only losing 2 games. And of course, they lost to the Raiders the first time they played them, and they beat them in a close game the second time they played them. So props to them. I think that's a big turning point. Of course, a hard loss like that to a division rival will always spark some sort of fire in you to get into a winning stride and a winning pattern. Speaking of winning strides and winning patterns, at number 3, I've got head coach Andy Reid. I love Andy Reid. I think he's one of the, if not the greatest offensive mind in the NFL. I think he's done a fantastic job with this Kansas City team. I think he did a great job before Patrick Mahomes with Alex Smith under center, and I think he's done a great job in molding Patrick Mahomes into who he is today. His coaching has made Kansas City a contender for years. Not even just with the emergence of Patrick Mahomes, but even with Alex Smith, they were in the playoffs year after year. Of course, they lost year after year in the first round, usually, but they were still in the playoffs, and they were still contenders every single year. Everyone's talked about it as well. He is a play-calling mastermind. He has been fantastic in the playoffs, and that all came to a peak and to a point with the game on the line, 4th down and 1, within the 2-minute warning. Cleveland is breathing down your necks. You've got a backup quarterback in Chad Henne, who just made a 13-yard run to put you in this position to be able to go for it on 4th down. And you go out of shotgun and you call a pass play to Tyreek Hill. Just fantastic coaching, knowing every situation, being confident with his team, and being confident with their ability to perform in the way that they need to. I really think that he's been a motivator behind this Chiefs culture as well. I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of people don't like the Chiefs right now, and it's a lot... It's very much to do with their attitude and with their, I think it's an us versus them mentality. I think they have a mentality that they are the best in the league and that they are here to defend that title. I mean, their whole theme of the season has been to run it back. I heard them say that constantly in their AFC Championship ceremony. I've heard them say it constantly all season. And I think that Andy Reid has been a really good proponent of that kind of mentality and that kind of culture of champions. They are champions, and they have a really good shot at becoming back-to-back champions. And honestly, if I'm being honest with myself, and if everyone else is honest with themselves, I think that they have a really good chance of being a 3-time champion. One of the first one in a long time to win 3 back-to-back-to-back. They have a really good shot at that. And I think it comes down to Andy Reid and the culture that he set up and the kind of attitude that he set up, that we are the Kansas City Chiefs and we are here to win. Not only that, but a lot of people had a lot of flack for Andy Reid in the fact that he couldn't win playoff games. Kansas City was a perennial one-and-done team for a few years. He had the same kind of misfortunes in Philadelphia as well. However, this has been able to secure one of his spots, honestly, in the Hall of Fame. This is securing Andy Reid's greatness, that yes, he's able to have success in the playoffs. Look at him. He's made 3 straight home AFC Championship games. He's now made 2 straight Super Bowls and has a really good chance of making it 3 or even 4 straight Super Bowls. I know that's wishful thinking. That's very, very much down the road speaking. But I don't see this Kansas City Chiefs team going anywhere for a very long time. And it boils down to Andy Reid and the culture he's created in Kansas City. Just want to mention a honorable mention here in my stepping stones and road to the Super Bowl for Kansas City. I originally wanted to put in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He hasn't been a very big, I want to say, influence in the playoffs thus far because of injury and because he just hasn't been there for the team. But I really think that he played very well in the regular season. I think he did a great job in his rookie year. Of course, he didn't do as fantastic as a Kareem Hunt did in Kansas City, but he did a really good job, and he was able to take a lot of pressure off of Patrick Mahomes at times and of the passing attack. So honorable mention, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, even Le'Veon Bell. He's a great running back. Who knows what's going to happen next year when they have a little bit of an off season to work with him and Edwards-Helaire. So watch out for these running backs for Kansas City in 2021. We might be witnessing a great dual-headed threat in the backfield next season. Let's talk about my number 2, my second most, I guess, important aspect of the Chiefs season, and that is the dynamic duo of Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey. I want to say they are the most dynamic duo in the NFL. Get this. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 38 touchdowns this year. 38 total touchdowns. 26 of those have gone to Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelsey. That's nuts for me. Patrick Mahomes has thrown 4,740 yards this past regular season. Over half of that went to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey combined, 2,692 yards. When throwing to Tyreek Hill or Travis Kelsey, there's a 68.6% catch rate. And on top of that, Tyreek Hill has added 123 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns. Now in the playoffs, the Kansas City Chiefs have thrown a total of 640 passing yards. 509 of those yards have gone to Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelsey combined. They have a combined 3 touchdowns between the two of them in the 2 games they've played. And on top of all of that, when throwing to Travis Kelsey and Tyreek Hill, they have an 82.6% completion rate when throwing to them. I don't know of any other pair that's done anything like this. I didn't do a lot of digging to find out if there's been a duo of receivers that have been able to do this. And yes, I'm going to call Travis Kelsey a receiver. He was number 2 in the league in receiving yards. He broke the record again. He broke the record last year, and then George Kittle broke the record right after him, and now he's just breaking the record again for most receiving yards by a tight end in a single season. Amazing. Just incredible. And you add the likes of Mecole Hardman, Sammy Watkins, Robinson, and Chris Pringle. And they're able to, they don't get a lot of targets, but they are great receivers in themselves. They are awesome receivers, those 4. And they take the pressure off of Kelsey and Hill sometimes. Not that they really need it. Hill's the fastest player in the NFL, and Travis Kelsey is Travis Kelsey. Him and Patrick Mahomes have a connection like I have never seen before. Maybe only in Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski, but that's beside the point. Amazing supporting cast for this team, but it is all led by that dynamic duo in Travis Kelsey and Tyreek Hill. Last but certainly not least, we've got Patrick Mahomes. Hands down, clear and obvious, Patrick Mahomes is the heart and soul for the Kansas City Chiefs. You see it on the sideline, you see it in the locker room, you see it in the press conferences. Everything that the Kansas City Chiefs are, boils down to Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. I've talked about his stats. He threw for 4,740 yards this season, and that's without playing in Week 17 against the Chargers, which, if he played in that game, he would have broken 5,000 yards, in my opinion. He had 8.1 yards per pass attempt, 66.3% completion percentage, 38 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 108.2 quarterback rating, and he also led 3 fourth-quarter game-winning drives this season. I believe that's also in overtime, not just fourth quarter. He sets the tone of this team. He sets it in his play. He is always doing the best he can to make the best play that he can, but he's also doing it in the sideline. One of the biggest moments, I think, in the AFC Championship game this past weekend was seeing the Bills get kind of chippy. You saw Josh Allen kind of flip the ball into the Kansas City defender's head, and a big kerfuffle happened, and all of that hitting the fan. And you saw Tyreek Hill and a few other Chiefs players start to run out to the field, and Patrick Mahomes running to grab him and getting everyone back to the sideline and being able to be a true leader of this team, an example, and in being vocal and being able to encourage his teammates to live up to sportsmanship, for example, in that case, or to be able to just act professionally. I saw a lot of the Kansas City offensive line waving at the Bills and kind of mocking them a little bit, and Patrick hit him on the helmet and said, hey, let's be professional about this. Let's win with dignity. Let's win with grace. And you could really tell that he was trying to set the tone and set the example for that. He looked amazing. Let's talk about the AFC Championship game as well. I don't think they are able to win that game without Patrick Mahomes. He looked like nothing happened the week before. He didn't look very affected by turf toe. He didn't look like he was very affected by whatever kind of head or neck damage that he had. But he looked incredible. He stood in the pocket well. He scrambled well. And he made the throws that he needed to. This game would have had even more points if Tyreek Hill made a catch that Patrick Mahomes made in the first or the second drive for the Chiefs. I mean, you look at the numbers that he had in the regular season, and to me, those look like MVP caliber numbers. They look like really good stats that really define an MVP quarterback. But of course, you had Aaron Rodgers on the other side, who was playing phenomenal football and who also has MVP stats, who will probably win it. But any way you cut it, this Patrick Mahomes is one of the top 2, if not the top 3 quarterbacks in the NFL, in my opinion. I really don't see a lot of quarterbacks being any better than him. And I don't know if Tom Brady's even better than him at this point. I'm sure you can say, yeah, maybe we put prime Tom Brady against prime Patrick Mahomes, but I don't even know if Patrick Mahomes has hit his prime yet. That's the scary part. I don't know when this man's going to peak. He is just playing phenomenal football. He is clearly the center of this team and the leader of the Kansas City Chiefs. And I believe and I know that he is the number one reason that these Chiefs are sitting with a spot in Super Bowl 55. He is the reason they're going to be heading to Tampa Bay next week. And he deserves the $500 million contract that he got. I mean, it's going to make it really hard for him to have any supporting cast, but that's when he's going to cement his legacy as one of the best quarterbacks to ever to play. And I think he is one of the best quarterbacks to ever play. And that's only coming after 3 seasons of him as starter. Just crazy stuff. He's a crazy guy. He is an awesome quarterback. And he's the main reason that these Chiefs are in the Super Bowl. So there you have it. I got an increased defensive mindset. Their loss to the Raiders, Andy Reid, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelsey, and Patrick Mahomes as being some of the main stepping stones and some of the main components of this Kansas City Chiefs team who will be fighting for the Lombardi Trophy next week. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you have anything to add or anything you don't agree with. Hit me up on Instagram at Harvey's Huddle or on Twitter at Harvey_Huddle, or you can check me out on YouTube. Harvey's Huddle is the channel name. Really excited for next week. Again, if you haven't already, go take a look at my other episode about the road to the Super Bowl for the Buccaneers. If not, have a great weekend. We'll see you next week for my prediction for Super Bowl 55 in Tampa Bay. I'm Jackson Harvey. This has been Harvey's Huddle. Take care.